Well, it's time to level up your presentations. You know, with everything happening right now, sometimes your presentations may be in person, they might be more digital or virtual. Regardless, the opportunity to deliver presentations right now is at an all-time high. It's never been easier, and it's never been more important that you level up your presentation skills. So let me share with you a couple of things that I'm working on to level up my presentation skills so that I can be able to deliver something to people. And I've talked about this in a previous video about Myron Golden's 4 levels of this communication and 4 levels of way you can increase your value, and the top level is really communication. So this skill, which it really is a skill, is so important right now. So let me take you through some steps on how you can improve and level up your presentation skills. So years ago, I was invited to a Train the Trainer event, and this first skill is so important because I got up, I was given a half sheet of paper, given 30 minutes to train in front of this group of other trainers, and then they were gonna critique my ability to train. And I remember how nervous I was, and I went somewhere in the middle. There was maybe, 10 or 12 presenters, so a small group in a small room. And I remember I went somewhere in the middle, and the first few people that went before me did a really good job, but kind of stumbled through some things, and they got a lot of positive feedback. So I was fortunate I got to learn from that. But I got up and I presented, and I'm about halfway through, and mentally in my mind, I always have these 2 conversations, the one that's coming out of my mouth and the one that's in my mind that's like, am I doing a good job? And in my mind, I'm like, man, this is really going well. I can tell by the interaction, I can tell by a lot of things. And we get done, and I'm getting feedback. And at the end of this feedback, a lot of people are like, well, yeah, you did a really good job teaching, you did a really good job with this or that. And the feedback I got was one thing really important, and that was smile. And what I realized is I'm so intense when I'm delivering something, I'm so intense when I'm giving information and discussion and teaching that I forget that my face is in that expression of how I'm feeling. And so the person in the audience could take that as like, oh my gosh, they're not excited about what they're doing. And especially in a virtual world, like when we're doing things virtual or through Zoom or other presentations, you have to sort of double the amount of energy you think you're giving. So if you think you're like, man, I'm like a 7 out of 10, you're probably showing up like a 4 kind of thing. Like you've got to double up what you really want to do to show up in energy. So remember, smile, have a ton of energy, and that will be the first step to connecting and leveling up your presentations. Number 2, words matter. The words that you use are really important. Now, I don't want you to think so much about the words that you stumble and are concerned about what you're gonna say. You know, you'll listen to me, I'll repeat things. I say, there's phrases that I often repeat, and I'm aware of that, and those are important things, but the words that you say do matter, especially right at the beginning. So let me give you an example. Often when I start a speech or a presentation, or when I get on stages, which I'm fortunate to get in front of rooms and of all different sizes. Sometimes there's 20 people, sometimes there's 200 people. But I always kind of say the same thing to start. And I say something around the effect of how excited I am to be with them. Because there's a big difference about being with somebody or speaking at somebody. And you want that to be how the audience feels. You want them to feel like you're with them having a conversation, not you're there to talk at them. So I often hear people get up and they'll say, they make 2 big mistakes. And so if you find yourself doing this, take this as an opportunity to correct it going forward, because I made this mistake. And it was another speaker who corrected me, and thank goodness they did. But I got up and I said, hey, I'm so excited to share something with you or to talk to you today. I said something like that. And afterwards, he came up to me, he said, Chaz, you gotta understand, nobody wants to be talked at. Don't get on stage and tell them you're gonna talk to them. You're gonna talk at them. You're gonna whatever. Just be with them. Let them, we're here together, and there's gonna be some things we're gonna share and interact and talk about. Whether there's interaction or not, you're already pre-framing them that we're doing this together. The second big mistake that most people make is there's a balance between sort of self-deprecating, being humble on stage, but then there's also this balance of stepping up on stage and saying things like, I didn't prepare, I'm not a great speaker, speaking is super challenging and I'm really nervous and all. Like, no one cares, first of all. Number 2, you now made the audience feel a sense of anxiety on your behalf. Never get up and apologize for anything on stage. I've been on stage this last year, did a keynote presentation, the audio, the video, the microphones, like nothing was working. But the biggest thing you do is you don't get on stage, and yes, you can call out the elephant in the room, that's one thing, but don't apologize. Like, hey, this isn't gonna be very good because my audio isn't working. No, you just adapt and you move. So those are 2 big things. Your words matter. The way that you express yourself and the way that you make that person feel in the first 30 seconds is so important. All right, one way to level up is this little skill set right at the beginning. And I learned this from Delatoro McNeil. He shared this in an interview I did with him, something he does, and I loved it, and it's something that I've adopted. So once I've connected with the audience right out of the way, let them know how excited I am to be with them and some things we're gonna talk about, right? So he talks about it like this. He says, you share with them what you're gonna tell them, then you tell them, and then you tell them what you told them, right? So it's that 3, that triple. So you sort of set an agenda. You say, here's what we're gonna discuss today, and then you do it, and then you recap, here's what we discussed today. And it helps them remember what you shared. Now, I'm gonna add one little thing to that because this is an advanced skill of sort of as I've adopted this that I've learned to that, is you also let them know how they felt. So what you share with them, just as an example, is like, hey, today we're gonna discuss the 5 things that whatever, right? And then you share those 5 things. And at the end, often what I will do, if I can, in an interactive setting, is get people to share. And that can be virtual or in person. Hey, what was the big takeaway? But how did you feel? Or what jumped out to you? What did you hear today? And I want to remind them and tie that back into the message, because the last key to that is people will remember how they felt. They may not remember everything you said at your presentation, but they will remember how they felt, which leads me into the last key point of how you level up your presentations. Because they remember how you made them feel, not so much everything you said, you want to make sure your events are transformational, not just informational. And so how do you do that? So for so many years, I was teaching information, right? I was training principles and disciplines of business. And that's the foundation of what I still do. But how do I, instead of just making it informational, how to make it transformational? Meaning this, when you're teaching information, typically you're the hero, or you've maybe heard the hero's journey, right? Like, here's where I started and here's where I got. And you're the center of that. And if you want to level up, you transform that so that you can take the person in the audience, whether that's virtual or in person, they become the hero's journey. They're now the center of this event. So it's not information, now it's transformation. So you help them start here and show them now how they can get from where they are to where they want to go. And when you can do that, you now have this ability, this connection to take them on a journey, to help them see what's possible that is not yet happened. And that, to me, is probably the highest level of a trainer, speaker, presenter who's operating at the highest level. I think one of the greatest examples of that to me is somebody like Tony Robbins. When he comes out, he takes you through transformation. You're the hero in the story. It's not about him. Yet he uses examples of how he overcame things. He really makes you and others in the audience be the center of the transformation. And that's a key. So think about this for your next presentation. Go back and look at this, right? How do I start? Am I smiling? What words am I using to connect with the audience right away? Am I sharing with them what we're going to talk about, doing it, and then recapping what we talked about and what we shared? And then am I making this a transformational event? If you do those few steps, watch how you level up your presentations and watch the effectiveness through these presentations. Hopefully that was helpful. If you like this, go ahead, click subscribe, like, and share this with somebody who's really needs to level up their presentations this year and to enhance and grow their business.